20 minutes.
Shoddy and Mungo. If Tompkins does go, Wigan need to invest the marquee money in stem cell research to keep Sean O'Loughlin playing for the next 20 years. He makes such a difference when he's on the field. Catalan proving how fickle confidence can be.
Phil Nadin said, what can I say? I'll start from the start, I suppose. Wigan was shite. Yep, that sums up the first half, I think. It was nice to see Wigan decided to play in the second half. This was probably, as I text Sean Wayne to tell him he's fucking up my super room. Well, at least he's got his number. Darryl Powell doesn't. Not much of a review, I know, but it wasn't much of a game, was it? Well, I got involved.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. What did you think? You only saw the first half.
Yeah. I had a taping issue on my Sky, so I only got to watch the first half, and obviously Catalans were completely dominant in that, and I was enjoying that. But I've not seen them play like that at all this season. They've been that's absolutely the best I've seen them play for since middle of last season, I guess. So.
Probably the middle of the
season before. Yeah. They were dominant. They were doing everything right. Everything was coming off for them. I think. You're right. Bird went off. That was pretty close to half time, I think. And then
let me find. In the right up here, it doesn't have the timing of the Bird injury, so it'll be in there somewhere. Don't know,
but I think it was pretty close to half time. But O'Loughlin had started at prop in the first half. I don't know. I know.
27 minutes he went.
All right, okay. So it was a little bit earlier.
The time he went off, it was 8-0.
Right. Okay. So
Catalan.
before the Mead try and
before the Mead breakaway try,
right,
and the drop goal as well. That was snappily taken for the half time. Anyway, Ash was saying.
Yeah. So nothing was really coming off, and O'Loughlin obviously started at prop. I don't know whether he went back to loose forward to become this dominant display that I've heard about.
No.
That happened in the second half.
So what happened is, towards the back end of the first half, George Williams went off. He was suffering from migraines, I think, and somewhere at the back of my head, I think this isn't the first time he's had that issue.
Is that concussion related or something, or is it not?
No, it might just be. I don't know if it's travel related, because flying in and out on the same day and stuff like that can do some things to certain people, can't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know, and I don't think Williams was particularly awful in relation to the rest of the Wigan team, which were awful. I think the problem for Wigan in the first half was the forward pack were just absolute diabolical, considering we played. Well, 5 different people played in the prop positions in the first half. We didn't rotate the back of the scrum, but we rotated the prop positions heavily in the first half, because the bench was 4 props. And they were totally not on top. And the only other time where we've been like that was against Warrington this season.
When you got straight off the play.
Whereas in all the other games, we've not been scoreboard dominant in the first half, but we have been possession, territory and position dominant, even when we were big behind against Widnes in the first half and we were trailing against Wakefield in the first half. We were physically dominant in those games, if not necessarily scoreboard dominant, and that came home to roost in the second half. In this one, we had no platform whatsoever. We were awful, and not taking anything away from Catalans, because I thought Tony Gigo was really good, and I'd been calling for him to play at 6 from the start of the season, and I can't believe it took until Easter for him to get into that position, but he now actually looks like a player who they can rely on to make the right sort of decisions creatively. He's going to make mistakes. He's always been a player who makes mistakes. He's going to be petulant off the back of those mistakes. But they've got a player who can pull the strings, who can play a bit of rugby league, and who's got a bit of everything to that kind of ball playing role, and Sammy Stoney Lange off the back of that got to do what he can do, which is run the ball and offload the ball. Yeah, because he didn't have to do anything else. He did, put in the odd kick where the ball landed with him, but he didn't need to do anything else, and he was really good at that. Just as he kind of emerged as being in the second half of the Huddersfield game last week. So that was all working really well for the Catalan Dragons. The thing is, Wigan never really had the ball because they were making mistakes. They were allowing for turnovers of possession. Second half started and we let a stupid dropout happen. obviously we don't understand how the ball bounces on that pitch. Do they not fucking... This is what annoys me. Do they not watch games? Do they not realise that grass there is tufty and long and kicks hold up?
Yeah.
And they always have.
Yeah.
And it's like, why aren't you not realising this? And Joe Burgess did the same thing later on, which put us back under pressure, and then we got away with it with Ben Julian trying to play the ball too fast, and everyone saying O'Loughlin stripped it out, but O'Loughlin was crafty in getting his hand trapped. Didn't do any pulling motion or anything else, just got his hand trapped. And when Julian went to try and play the ball fast, he thought, if I let go, I'll get a penalty, I'll get another set. And naturally should have kept hold of it and maybe composed himself a bit more, because the wily veteran got you there. But that happened to Burgess, and it happened to Tompkins right at the start of the second half, which saw the Catalan side get possession and score to go 21-0 up. And I thought that was it at that stage, to be honest. I could see us scoring some tries, but I couldn't see us stopping them. But what stopped them was their own ill discipline. They started firing shots at heads. They started hitting players late, which they were pleading with the referee for penalties for, and getting penalties for in the first half on very marginal calls, I thought. And flip it round, and all of a sudden, apparently, there shouldn't have been penalties, and the referees are out to get Catalans and don't want Catalans to beat Wigan. Fuck off, McNamara. Seriously. You're a shite coach, and you're a shite fucking person for saying stuff like that. Get your head around the fact that your team fucked up because you haven't instilled discipline in them. Sorry for all the swearing, but it really winds me up when coaches come out with stuff like that. Bernard Gouch, I don't expect anything else. It's kind of entertaining for me in a weird way because of his ways. But McNamara needs to take some responsibility for the fact that his
team...
He's
under pressure, isn't he? That is...
if your team are constantly on the other end of the penalty count, how about think it's because your team are constaying in people's eyes? Do you know what I mean? And that was it. It was high tackles. It was late hits. It was staying in too long, trying to dominate things physically, but in the wrong sort of way. And Wigan have got so many talented players that once you let Gildart and Burgess and Farrell run free down the golden edge, all it needs is someone who's picking the right passes. And in Sean O'Loughlin and Sam Tompkins, you've got two of the cleverest rugby league players in Super League in those two players. Now, Wigan will be absolutely lost without those two players. Sam Tompkins going next year is going to really hinder ourselves unless Zach Hardacre doesn't get a 2-year ban.
Is that because we never talked about that at the start? Is that definitely going to happen then? Is that
as far as I understand it, it's the contract is yet to be signed, but it's sat there waiting for 4 years for really good money, with a nice tax incentive thrown in for the tax down there, and basically it's going to set him up like Catalans like to set people up into the early to mid 30s. But it's going to set him up for another 4 years with his family and the situation. I think it's an absolute no-brainer that he's going to take that money. Even if he doesn't see out that whole deal. It's an absolute no-brainer that he's going to take that money. And Wigan, for some reason, don't want to take his option for next year because we'd have to pay him quite a lot of money. Now, we have wasted money on him being sat on the sidelines, and part of that report, reputedly, was of his own accord, kind of pissing around a bit and got himself more injured than he needed to be. But we won the grand final anyway, so it takes our ass.
Shut up.
So without him, O'Loughlin, we do need these stem cells. But basically, O'Loughlin was absolutely brilliant at picking things out, and Sam Tompkins alongside him, coming off the back of him, was great. And you can't stop those players once they get going.
How many years has O'Loughlin got in him, do you reckon?
He's got no more years of playing 60 minutes a game. He played perfectly well at standoff, more than perfectly well at standoff in this game. But to be honest, he would have been that good if he was the ball playing loose forward as well, I think. I don't know. I don't know how long he's got left. How great I talk about James Roby. Sean O'Loughlin is not far behind him, and for me, Sean O'Loughlin has stepped above even Andy Farrell in my eyes. I've talked about this on the show before. My uncle Liam definitely thinks so. In terms of what he is as a Wigan player, as a Wigan loose forward, and almost as a Wigan leader too. I mean, the trophies he's won do stack up, to be completely honest. But he's right up there in that conversation of greatest players to ever play in Super League. And I know Farrell and Sculthorpe are revered as great back row, ball playing loose forwards of their day. And Farrell did do that thing of stepping up into the front row too to show he had that physicality, and one Man of Steel playing most of the season at front row. And I wouldn't take anything away from the player who appeared in every dream team but one whilst he was playing in Super League and that sort of thing. I absolutely loved him. But Sean O'Loughlin has just shown forever, and people might slag him off because he occasionally throws a high shot around or is a bit crafty now, which I don't necessarily like. Don't get me wrong. With winning penalties and stuff, but you can't dispute the guy's playing ability.
No, he's a Rolls Royce. He's a Rolls, like that's how I always thought of him as a player. Before I sort of, obviously when I first started getting into the sport, and I didn't have that hatred for Wigan.
Before you realised it was meant to hate us.
I just enjoy the game for what it was, and because he was an England player, and I sort of got into it on the back of the World Cup, and so I used to love watching him play. I still do love watching him play.
We lost that World Cup final by like one try, and we were missing something slightly different in terms of creativity near to like up the field. And Sean O'Loughlin gives you that more than any other forward, even as good as Graham and Burgess are at playing rugby. Yeah, Sean O'Loughlin, there's no forward in the world who can pass it both sides with the same accuracy and power as Sean O'Loughlin can. Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. And that offload to Farrell for putting through Gildart for his try that made me believe was absolutely sublime. Yeah, people will say we talk too much about Wigan now, but we mostly talked about Sean O'Loughlin. I think Catalan's discipline was atrocious, and Wigan, I don't think we really deserved it. I don't think we played well enough. Right? Yeah. I think Catalan threw it into our hands. To be completely honest, we played well enough to score all those tries, but Catalan threw it into our hands. They didn't do enough to take their opportunities to turn them into tries. Scoring only 2 tries in the first half, not enough in my view. And then you start taking penalties against Wigan, and you've lost. Yeah. Basically this year, if you start kicking 2s against Wigan, you've lost, because Wigan are scoring tries better rate than any other team in the competition. In terms of the stats, Catalan were over 100 metres and 1 metre per carry better at making ground than Wigan, but surrendered a 4-7 clean break deficit and a 3-6 try deficit. A worse tackle success rate and a much worse penalty count of 14-8 are ultimately what cost the Dragons in this one, as well as not turning the metres they made into the tries scored. Dan Sargentson, a try at 133 metres. Ryan Sutton, I thought in the second half finally did make some headway for Wigan. 131 metres from him, and actually I think he played almost all the second half and was good in that period. Oliver Gildart, a try, 105 metres. Sean O'Loughlin, 3 try assists, and ultimately setting up a try, even though there was a pass after his try as well. Absolutely golden stuff from Lockers. For the losing Catalan side, David Mead with a try in 168 metres. Mikel Simon and Remy Casti both went over 100 metres carrying the ball, but were big culprits in the penalty situation. Sammy Soni Langi, a try assist in 105 metres, showing the kind of player he can be for them. That's that on that one.
What do you reckon is happening with McNamara now? You can't get many more chances, can he? Because obviously they showed something in this game, so then it's like, and they got a win over Easter, didn't they?
I have a sneaky feeling. Yeah, they did. They beat Huddersfield, and they actually played some really exciting attacking rugby in that second half too. Very similar to the good stuff they did in the first half against Wigan. I've got a sneaky feeling that Bernard Gauch doesn't like to pull the trigger, even though he seems like the kind of character who would. I really feel like he isn't that sort of character. So I suspect that he's got the season.
Do you reckon?
And I also think if he flies through the middle eights, which they should do if they get into that, and if Catalan are allowed to be at the top table in the Big Ten rather than the Little Ten in the new system that we expect to happen, if not want to happen, I think it's going nowhere. Right. Yeah.
Because Tony Smith wants that job. He's always wanted that job, and I can't help but feel I feel like he's sort of.
I think Tony Smith's going to get some sort of board job at Huddersfield. I'm almost convinced of that now as well.
He lives in Huddersfield, doesn't he? But he lives right around that area. He's always commuted from there. But he's made no secret of the fact that he wants to live in Cannes Plage and sort of and have that lifestyle. And
Yeah, but if you're making no secret of wanting to have that lifestyle, are you really what that club needs? Because they've had a few too many people who've wanted that lifestyle. Yeah. But what they actually want is people committed to building a professional